Today I'm talking about the No Kings protest. Millions of people in the streets across all 50 states, slick branding, coordinated messaging, and wall to wall press. Big numbers, big monies, and no surprise, a big media spin. But let's take it all apart. Like, who organizes it, who funds it, and what is the end game? And why are the same outlets that missed the last 5 news cycles now lecturing you on saving democracy? Hey guys, it's Delania. Please like, subscribe, share, hype. Really appreciate all the comments. I read them all and try to respond to every single one of them. So, what is the No Kings? Like, I'm sure you've all seen the No King signs everywhere, and it's marketed as a pro democracy day of action against presidential overreach in Trump's second term. This isn't one city, it's thousands of coordinated events from Boston Common to LA City Hall. Organizers claim in the millions at the June launch and again this weekend. Some outlets are saying 5 to 7 million nationally, with six-figure turnouts in the big metros. But what's the point? This was never spontaneous. It was planned, mapped, and funded. Again, I always go back, just follow the money. So let's look at the receipts. The brand you'll hear lots of individuals. That's a professional activist network that grew out of the 2016 election. They and a coalition of progressive groups, unions, and nonprofits as the backbone of No Kings. Multiple reports tie major foundation money, especially Open Society Foundation or the OSF, to groups behind the protests, with grants following to individuals and partner organizations. Even Fox and Examiner, yes, the partisan, ran the numbers, while local stations echoed the OSF acknowledgement that they fund civic engagement work. The translation, the backbone is institutional money and not just pass the hat, let's start an organization. So I just wanted to show you guys the numbers. And again, here it's George Soros is hugely behind this, and he's the one that was behind the OSF. And I know you can't see the numbers, they're probably too small, but I'll break it down. It comes up to this $294,487,641. And essentially all these groups here, the other one here, these are just subsidiaries of these larger companies here. So it is big money. That is definitely big money. And I'm not saying there aren't real grassroots folks in the streets. There are, but the logistics, permit stages, media kits, speaker slates take cash, and the coalition has it. And here is a video. Here, found this This is their grassroots. And what I find very funny is these are the people. And this is just one of many. This guy was just funny, so I added this one. But this is what they're saying. Have a listen here.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. We don't like him. That's the word around here.
Any particular reason why you don't like him?
No clue at all. I'm just going with everybody else saying. Trump's a bitch.
So those are the grassroots people that are there. They really have no idea. They're just there for the party, I think. And that, like I said, that was one of many videos I found with people having no idea what the hell's going on. And what the message is versus the real reality are like two completely different things. The official pitch is simply, we're for democracy, not kings. Rhetorically clean, feels safe. Who's going to argue for kings? But look at the output. Celebrity photo ops, carnival-style marches, giant inflatable symbolism. It's a spectacle that it photographs pretty well for a perfect Sunday, the front pages. The vibe in many cities was upbeat, even festival-like, with relatively few arrests. That's by design, and here's the friction. Ask 10 protesters what specific power they want rolled back, and you'll get 20 answers. The National Guard deployments, immigration enforcement, speech rules, court fights, you name it. The brand is unified. The demands are not. That mismatch is how you get millions of colorful images, almost zero policy clarity, and it just becomes, I think, just a clusterfuck. And the stuff that's going on is just boggles my mind. And here's, well, have a look. It's hard to explain. And that's why I think that the left is very much alienating themselves because it's just that's what you're getting. But, like, it just makes no sense. Like, what are they fighting for? There was another one, they had, lice acting like and then king's trying to kill the lice. Uh, but they're just so crazy. But I did find a video, and this girl's on Fox, and she actually tries to make sense of it, but to me, she sums it up very well as to what the Dems are looking for. Have a listen.
Few of the things that people who are going to be out there on the streets peacefully protesting are upset about, starting with the basics, signing an executive order to do away with birthright citizenship, which is literally in the Constitution, sending troops into blue cities.
Oh, you mean
unilaterally implementing tariffs, which Congress gets to do. I already talked about the 170 Americans who've been locked up. Cracking down on the First Amendment, detaining students for op-eds you don't like, targeting law firms, universities, reallocating funds appropriated by Congress to fund your big ICE force, firing inspectors generals that are looking into your friends like Elon Musk, making billions off of crypto scams, and your kids are running all over the world making deals. And the Trump administration has defied 1 in 3 judges that have ruled against him. And you're seeing that from judges appointed up from Reagan up to Donald Trump that are saying absolutely not, you are breaking the law in taking some of these actions. All of that is what No King's Day is about.
So there is a big hypocrisy there, and that's where they need to have a check. No kings, but lifetime politicians. Like, have a look here. This is I can't play the music, but essentially, this is what we're getting here. You know, if the slogan is no kings, are we also talking about political longevity? Because the same Democratic leadership class cheering those marches has dominated Congress for decades. And Pelosi in the House since 1980s, Schumer in the federal office since 1981, and the Senate since 1999. Markey in Congress since the 1970s, whole careers. That's not monarchy, but it's entrenched in power. And yes, even Democrats are now openly pushing generational changes because the tenure is that long. So the question is, are we against concentrated power across the board or only when it's not on our team? So who actually is showing up? Look at the photo galleries and you will see exactly who's showing up. From Atlantic to LA Times and local outlets, you'll see a wide mix in cities. But in many northeastern and west coast shots, the crowds appear predominantly white, college educated. They have kind of like a PMC energy, the same blue metro demographic that already votes Democrat. They aren't really reliable national headcounts by race for a single day like this, but the imagery speaks loud about who's most mobilized. The bottom line, it's a mass movement. Optics-based mobilization is the absolute reality here. So how do you have the media malpractice? They recycle visuals and the narrative, and they're just laundering those past videos. Have a look here. This is actually from Boston in 2017.
Look at this. Millions of people across the country marching as we speak against the policies of President Trump. This is Boston. Look at that. We'll continue to follow these rallies throughout the day here on MSNBC. Wow. All right, coming up.
So again, it's just this whole propaganda wheel. Like this weekend, you could find posts and even politicos sharing old Boston imagery to pump up the scale. Shots from previous protest waves bouncing around as if they were brand new. Boston had massive protests for years. There's a lot of reusable B-roll there. If you see aerials with composition that matches the 2017 free speech weekend over other historic Boston marches, you're probably not looking at the 2025. And that's the trick. Old images, new captions equals inflated momentum. When outlets or influencers do that, they're not documenting, they're manufacturing the scale. That corrodes trust even when the real turnout is large, and which is true. So what is the end game? You ask organizers and you'll hear defend democratic norms, oppose authoritarian overreach, protect civil liberties. Nice sentiment, but real end games use checklist. So, I went through what could actually start reform as opposed to just being in the streets, acting like sheep or mice, like or lice. That's what they're actually with lice. So, and I did like they have to go through this checklist, and these things are what really matters. If they really want change, and if they really want to go about making the change, they're like, what is their end game, and how do they go about it? Well, the first thing is statutory reversal. They have to rescind specific executive actions on immigration enforcement, surveillance, or domestic deployment of federal forces. And then you could have institutional constraints, pass guardrails limiting emergency powers and tightening Insurrection Act triggers, congressional veto points, sunset clauses that actually work. And then you have your elections, convert marchers into voters, donors, canvassers ahead of the 2026 and 2028 election. This is essentially voter file work in a costume party. So, what is the narrative capture here? Cement the frame that Trump wants to be a king, especially after his own trolling content and crown imagery gave them the free messaging fuel. So, this is uh, this is Trump, his trolling, which is actually hilarious. His sweet tweet. Sorry, I can use the volume on that because it's copyrighted, but he doesn't give a shit what they think. So there's a reality check here. None of that happens from one weekend of selfies. You need bills, votes, and court wins if your leaders can't articulate which powers to call back on by Monday morning. You know, this is just a whole bunch of propaganda and a lot of loud noise without actually having any lot big bark without the bite, essentially. So there is the authoritarian bait. Like I said, this video is Trump trolling. The White House and allies help the brand with their own goals, posting taunting AI clips, Trump leaning into the crown gag. I don't think they care if the middle or left thinks he's not authoritarian. It's that video of King Trump dumping the shit on everybody. That's essentially him. He is definitely trolling them, and he just does not give a shit. And I think for the Dems, I think Gavin Newsom is trying to play the same game by trolling Trump. It's just not working. He just doesn't have the wit or the panache, I think, to troll. But I think someone on the Democratic side has to come up with some smart shit to just counteract this, because this video is going viral. Like, what are they going to come up with? They need to have their counterattack, I think. They need someone smart and witty to do something against this. But they haven't found it. Like I said, Gavin Newsom has tried. He just does not have the knack for it. So, I go to what is the media framework, essentially, what is the narrative they're trying to push versus the facts. So I kind of broke this down as well. So what is their narrative? They want spontaneous grassroots way for democracy. But the facts are, it's a professional coalition. There's a national calendar, trained marshals, branded art kits, celebrity lineups, and foundation funded infrastructure. Even sympathetic outlet reports that scope and coordinate this whole entire thing. And what's their narrative? America united. But the fact is, mostly big city, blue metro mobilization, peaceful and photogenic, yes, but demographically narrow in many places. Again, check out the pictures. You'll really see what's really going on. And I've seen lots of comments about like who is actually showing up. And what is their narrative? The largest protest ever. Trust the numbers. But the facts are, numbers are organized, reported, media amplified. Impressive? Sure. Verified? Not so much. Their bar graphs look great. Mythology is fuzzy. Treat it like a campaign press release. And so, are they right or wrong? Which is the big question. There's two things. They can have two things that can be true at once. Yes, an executive can overreach, and citizens have a right to assemble and push back. That's America. That's free speech. That they have the free will to do so. But it's also true if you're rallying against kings but protecting your own political aristocracy, recycling old footage, and skating over policy specifics, you're not saving democracy, you're doing brand management. The goal is to limit power, then say which powers write the bill, and then get the votes. Otherwise, this is all just content for people. So I think what are things to look for going forward? And I don't think anything's going to come of this. I think this is all for show. But what they want to do is change legislation. And are we going to see concrete proposals to curb emergency powers, surveillance, or domestic deployments? Any bipartisan co-sponsors, or is it just merch and just creating email lists and just kind of rallying everybody up? And what's the follow through? Are marchers converted into precinct level operations, or do they just disappear until the next time that there's a big event? And like I said, a lot of them are probably getting paid too. So they're like, "Well, when is the next event I'm going to get paid for? Like, sign me up." And then you have your media corrections. Will outlets clean up miscaption imagery and retire 2017 Boston shots from the evergreen folders? And watch for the silent edits. And they are obviously getting called out for it. And I have seen no corrections all weekend thus far. And then where does the money flow? Do OSF aligned and union dollars spike to coalition packs and C4s post event? The real story is in FEC and the 99 filings over the next 2 quarters. We'll see from all those if they're nonprofit organizations, they have to disclose, and those will be public knowledge. So it'll be interesting to see where they're getting their money from. So democracy, not kings, is a solid bumper sticker. But if you want to be taken seriously, bring the receipts, concrete rollbacks of governmental power, not recycled photo ops and this playlist of shit that's going on. Marchers are loud, but policy is louder. And again, the trolling. Trump obviously is not taking this seriously. I think he obviously sees through all the bullshit and sees that this is just manufactured for the left. And the good thing about social media is, even the internet, is that you get to the facts. You are able to follow the money. And before, no, I was talking to my mom today in Canada, and she just takes what's on the CNN, and one of her comments was like, "Oh my God, can you believe how many people are in the streets protesting Trump?" And because everybody in Canada hates Trump, and can you believe it? I'm just like, "Mom, these are all just manufactured." Really? And I already wanted to do this video. So then I started doing my research and looking deeper and looking deeper. And I had no idea. I said, "This, I'm gonna follow the money," and that's where my result of following the money came up to $300 million. And that's where it's coming from. And then when I looked at the videos of people saying, like, "Why are you here?" And there's one girl, she had a Trump supporter hat on. She was a young girl, and she was going around interviewing people, and she's like, "What are you here?" And he's like, "'Cause our freedoms are getting taken away." And she's like, "Well, what freedom that you have that is gonna be taken away?" And he was just silent. Like, and this was an older man. He just had nothing to say. So again, this is all fabricated unless they're actually do some concrete things to move the needle. This is just all for show. And I also think, because talking to someone in Canada, and that's all they see is CNN and the MSNBCs and stuff, they're like, "Oh my God, look at everybody hates Trump. Can you imagine? Look, there's 7, 8 million people. They're all against Trump, and he's such a bad guy." And I'm in my mind, I'm going, this is just all manufactured. They're getting out of it what they want, maybe from other countries or the people that only watch CNN. But again, the mainstream media is dying a slow death because, again, the thing on Boston was an NBC show showing something from 2017, spinning it off like it just happened, and look at these numbers and look how many people, and it's all bullshit and it's all lies, and they're not going to correct it. So it's almost like you constantly have to keep pulling up the veil and moving shit around to see and dig deep and deep to actually find out what the real story is. So this is the last tweet by Trump. "A huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job." Again, he's hilarious. I think he's funny. And again, they need to find someone. They need to find someone as witty and as smart as Trump to just start jabbing back because they're hands down. And they all get mad and frustrated. It's like, why get mad and frustrated? Just go back harder. That's the if he wants to go that direction, you just go that direction and you just go harder and louder. But they just don't have anybody that has the wit. And like I said, Gavin Newsom is not your guy. They need to find someone really smart and witty to go up against him because whatever they're doing is definitely not working. So let me know your thoughts. Please like, subscribe, share, hype. I really do appreciate all the subscriptions. And yeah, what do you think of the No Kings thing? Is what they're doing going to move the needle for anything? And what do you think is going to happen in the 2026? I think the only thing that they can hope to move the needle on is the independence. But again, they what are they standing for? What's the movement? I don't see any concrete ideas of how to change the policy or change what's going on, especially within their own party. They have lifelong Democrats. So I don't know. And then I wish I had it here, but it had a how much those lifelong Democrats, how much they're worth. And, like, even Nancy Pelosi, she's worth millions and millions of dollars from all her inside training that she apparently, has knows nothing about. But it's all a bunch of bullshit, and we start seeing right through it. So who's the king here? I don't know. There it just the hypocrisy is what bothers me the most, I think. So anyways, guys, please like, subscribe, share, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.